Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're excited to hear about data cleanup with RapidStart. It is this is part 2 of 3. We are going to be looking at contact lead lists. And we just want to let you know that if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to type them into the questions box, and we will get them called out and answered for you toward the end of the webinar. And yes, we do record our webinars, so this will be available for you to review again, or if you'd like to share it with any of your colleagues and friends later on, you may do so, and it can be found at innovia.com. And so now I will turn it over to Marlene, and she will begin our presentation on data cleanup with RapidStart.
Thank you, Angie. Hello, everyone. Today, we will demonstrate how RapidStart can be utilized to populate new records. The goal for all of these webinars is to keep them short and sweet so that you're able to join without taking up too much of your busy day. So today's objectives are pretty straightforward. We're going to add records to an existing table. So let's imagine you have been given a list of leads and you would like to have them added as contacts in NAV. You would like also these contacts to be using the next number in your number series in Dynamics NAV. You can have the salesperson enter them one at a time, which will take a long time for them, or you can go ahead and add them for the salesperson through RapidStart. This saves the salesperson a lot of time and allows the salesperson to start tracking information on these new contacts right away. So the steps we'll be taking today: add a configuration package, add a table to the configuration worksheet, assign the package, export a blank worksheet to populate the new data, add the new contact data, import, and apply the data. If you had joined me in part 1 of this series, you can see that the steps are pretty much the same. The only difference is the worksheet data that you're going to populate. So let's get started and go to NAV and populate some data. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type in RapidStart. And we're going to create a package. So I'm going to create a new one called Innovia package. We're just going to call it this demo package. And I'm going to click OK. Now you can work directly out of the package, or I prefer working in the worksheet when I'm doing one-offs where I'm populating a table or where I'm cleaning up data. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add the table. And the table for contacts is 50/50. If you do not know the table number, you have the drop down to look it up and you can search it by name. Then we're going to go ahead and assign the package. You always have to assign a package to any worksheet that you're working with. We're going to assign our new package to it. Now what this did is it pulled in all the fields, the existing records, as to where you can drill down and look at them. We're going to go ahead and we're doing specific fields. So I'm going to show you the data we're working with. This is the lead list that we're going to work with, that we received. And imagine there are hundreds in here, so that's why we'd save a lot of time if there were hundreds. So this is the data that we've received from them. So it's somewhat limited, but we can populate the table with this, and then the salesperson can take over and add additional information. So these are the fields we need. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my NAV, go into the available fields over here, and note that everything is available up here in the ribbon also. I'm going to edit the list because we don't want to pull out all of the fields. I'm going to clear everything that's included because we have those limited amount of fields. No reason to go through and uncheck everything. And we're going to go through and select the fields that we want. So we want name field. We want the address was on that list. Our city was on that list. City. We've got phone number. We have the state. Where is the state? Oh, there it is. State is unusual because in NAV it's called county. So that's just a little side note for you to know about. Postcode, which is your zip code. And then I'm going to go ahead and flag the salesperson, which is number 29 here. And also the other one I'm going to check is 50/50, which is the type. So the type is whether or not it's a person or company contact. And we're going to say OK. Now, if we refresh, you can click up and click down or hit the F5 or hit the refresh in the ribbon. It's going to show us what fields we have. We want to make sure we've got all of our fields that we want, and those are them. So that's good. Next thing we're going to do is export. Now I'm going to export two ways just so you can see the difference. If we were to just do an export right now, it pulls out all of the data that you already have in the system. So here's the table. So it pulls out all the data. Now, what you could conceivably do is click on the first row, go down to the bottom row, and delete the data so that you have a blank sheet. But there is another way. There's always these nice little shortcuts that NAV has as to where we could set a filter and pull out a blank worksheet. So we're going to set the filter, and I'm going to set it on number. And I'm going to make it equal to blank, because there will be no records that do not have a number. So this time when we export, I'm going to open it, and you'll see it's going to be a blank sheet. Whew, thank God it did. Okay, so now first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save it as a name so that I can work on it. I'm going to save it to a location, and we're going to call this one New Contacts. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and reopen my leads. So now it takes when you're adding new field or populating new data, there's a little bit of manipulation that needs to be done. I'm going to open these and view them. I find the easiest way, and everyone finds their own way of that works the best for them. I find it works the best horizontal for me. So here I can see the headings that I need to populate and bring back into NAV. And here's my data up here. Now, the easiest way I've found to do this is to get these columns in the same order, because then you can basically copy and paste it onto this spreadsheet down here. This is the spreadsheet that has the information that allows you to pull it into NAV. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we're close. I'm going to ignore the number column, just leave that there. We've got name, we've got address, so that looks good so far, city. Now phone number is in a different location. So really what we want to do is we want to put it after, we want to insert a column here. And I want to paste it there. I'm going to delete this column. So we've got phone number. Now there's a column here with salesperson and no salesperson up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and insert a column. Remember, you're trying to keep the same spaces. You could type, if it helps you keep everything straight, you could just call this salesperson so that you know you counted for it. So you're literally counting for all the fields or the columns that you need to populate. And that looks good. We don't have to worry about type because it's at the end. We don't have to worry about number because it's at the beginning. So what we're going to do now that we have our stuff in order is I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste in my new contacts. And you notice what I did there. You have to start off with name because that's what we have. Now I'm going to go ahead and make this larger so you can see. And we're just validating that the state came in there, the zip code, the phone number, city, state, or address, name. Yep, looks good. So now I can close my contact list, my lead list. So now we've got this. So at this point, we can go ahead and we know the salesperson, it's Anita. And so we're going to go ahead and add Anita to all the records. And we are doing company type, but you could easily do person type also. So we're going to do company and we're going to populate that. And we are good. So now we're ready with our table. So now we can go back to NAV and we can import our new data. So the first thing I want to show you before we start importing is we're going to go to the number series. And we're looking at contact, and you'll see the next number in line, or the last number used was 284. Now let me make this big so it makes it easier for you to see. I'm going to go ahead and import from the template. And it asks me if I want to use an Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to select my new contacts. It's going to bring them in. You'll see 14 records up here. Now, the nice thing about RapidStart is that at this point, it's pulled in, but it's not actually in your data until you apply it. So you could always drill in and look at it and make sure that it came in correctly if you wanted to. Notice type shows company, which is a good sign. So I am ready to apply the data. So I'm going to apply the data. It takes a couple minutes. That's why I only did a few records. So of course, the more records you have, the little longer it would take. If there were any errors found when it was populating, if we would have put the columns off and had the name in the number column, that would have given it errors. So no errors found, which is a good sign. Now you'll notice that the package records are 0 and our data records, the number of data records went up, increased. So let's go back to our number series. And it looks like the new last number is 298. So if we went to contacts, just to prove that it actually worked, I'm just going to sort by the numbers so that we can see the ones I just added. Hopefully I typed that correct. And there's my data. So if we were to open up any of these, you would see Anita's in there. And you see that it's company, which were the fields that we populated. And then directly from our spreadsheet of leads. If you wanted to do persons, one of the things you could do is you would do the person contacts first, or I'm sorry, you would do the company contacts first, and then after they're assigned a number, when you do the person's contact, you could actually do a lookup in Excel and have it look up and populate your company numbers at that point. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at a few common errors that happen or that could happen. This is an error that tells you that you're not allowed to number the contacts manually. If you're wanting to have Dynamics NAV use the numbering you're defining, you would want to go to the number series and make sure manual is checked. If you're wanting Dynamics NAV to do the numbering for you in the next number that's coming up, you would want to remove the number from your worksheet and then reapply. Everyone's probably already dealt with number series, but just to point it out to you, here's the manual number series. So in this case, we're able to create our own numbers and also utilize NAVs. So with the spreadsheet that I had, by leaving it blank, that allowed it to that allowed NAV to number it for me. Okay, so another common error, and I covered this in part 1, but it's always a good one to cover because it can happen at any point. It is saying that the package table does not exist in the actual, it's not on the spreadsheet correctly. So what this one is, it's easy to fix. You can actually correct the name on the spreadsheet to match the package in Dynamics NAV, or if that does not work, you can re-export the table, repopulate, copy your data onto that table, and then re-import in. And what we're talking about with that is this part. So it's saying that this package name does not match in NAV. Where I've seen this happen the most is when someone is pulling a package from one database and importing it into another database. They might not be matching. The worksheet might not match. Okay, so it's very important and highly recommended that you test any corrections or changes that you want to make in your test database first before making them in your live production database. I would like to request if anyone has any suggestions on what they'd like to see done in RapidStart, please make any suggestions in the question box in this webinar, or you can email us at Innovia@Innovia.com, or I'm sorry, info@Innovia.com, and just reference this webinar. I may use them and continue this series beyond part 3. I also want to thank Natasha, who inspired the idea of covering how to handle RapidStart errors. I will be adding this as an additional webinar at the end of this series. If you make any suggestions that I decide to use in upcoming webinars, we will send you a gift certificate as thanks. Of course, it can't be one I've already got scheduled. Angie, are there any questions at all?
Yes. Just want to make this clear. Can I undo a mistake that I've made?
That's a good question, and this comes up quite often. There is no undo button. If you are in, let me go here real quick, I just want to show you. If you are in your worksheet and it's still package records, that's practically the only chance you have to undo before you apply. But once you apply, you cannot undo the data. You would literally have to pull the worksheet out again, correct the errors you made, and import it back in and then reapply. So that is a very good question, and it comes up quite often. Any other questions, Angie? Or
Nope, looks like that's all the questions that we have. If anyone
okay,
does have
great.
any last minute questions, please don't hesitate to get those in and get those suggestions into us as well. And we just want to thank everyone for attending today.
I hope that today you were able to see some of the unlimited possibilities with RapidStart. As I stated at the beginning of the webinar, we like to keep these short so that way it doesn't take out too much time out of your day. I hope I've accomplished this for you. I hope to see you September 11th for our part 3 of this series, in which we'll be working with populating dimension data. Thank you. Angie, is there anything else that we need to let them know?
For right now, I am just going to remind you all that this will be available on our website later this week for you to review again. So if you'd like to share it with anyone, it will be available at innovia.com under our past events page. And be sure to visit our events page. We have more upcoming webinars scheduled. And let's see, we have a couple yet this month. We have Dynamics eShop will be doing a webinar on Thursday this week. So if you're interested in registering for that webinar, they're going to be doing a webinar on fully integrated all-in-one e-commerce solution for Dynamics NAV 365. And then next week, our very own Jeff Pergolski will be discussing Business Central and NAV. So if you're interested in that one, please go ahead and register for that one on August 28th. And then we have FastPath that will be presenting on best practices for setting up audit trails in Dynamics NAV. That's going to be on August 29th. So if you're interested in these upcoming events or any of our other upcoming events, don't hesitate to register. And thank you, Marlene. It was a very informative webinar. And
Thank you, Angie.
we appreciate everyone who attended, and we look forward to seeing you on one of our future webinars. Have a great day, everyone.